Hello, and welcome to Mind Your Head, a space for people to share their stories, talk openly and honestly about their own mental health challenges, and to give some listeners some comfort in knowing you're not alone. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we record this podcast, the Gubbi Gubbi people. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Indigenous peoples. We honour their enduring connection to the land, waters and culture, and recognise their invaluable contributions they make to our communities. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Jimmy, welcome to Mind Your Head, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today. Like I said, I'm such a huge fan of yours, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
First off, how you going? How's life going? I know on the Goldie we just had a cyclone come through. How's the last couple of days been going?
Yeah, well, we were really lucky in my area. We got all the wind and the rain, but we didn't actually lose power. So we were probably the only suburb almost in Gold Coast. So we were extremely lucky. Yeah.
And how you going on a personal level? Everything going well?
Yeah, good. Just like I think we had a chat about this before the podcast. Just like sort of different levels, different devils with, I've just started taking this full time in the last few months, and it's so great, and I'm so grateful. But there's also a lot of other obstacles, I guess, that I wouldn't have initially anticipated. So super good lately. But yeah, it's definitely been a challenging but rewarding time.
100%. We'll definitely get into it. And I know there's obviously many people listening and watching right now that know Jimmy Judge from all the food challenges, and it's obviously what you're known for, but. Something that I'm really interested in getting to know Jimmy Judge, the person. So can you take me back to your childhood and what kind of kid were you like growing up?
Yeah. So always, I was the oldest, so I was always sort of hanging around adults. So I always sort of felt like it was struggled a little bit to make friends my own age, because I was are you the first child or the oldest or the?
I'm the middle child.
The middle child. Yeah. Oh, see, it's different things.
Yeah.
So always sort of felt like I had a bit of a hard time relating to people my own age. So even with school, so as I've got older, I've found like a lot of my friends are a fair bit older sort of thing. But I was definitely very, very outgoing in school, and it definitely sort of got me in trouble when I was a bit younger, and I sort of pulled my head in a bit as I got older, thankfully, because I found boxing. And it kind of helped me. Yeah. I think getting whipped by some of the older boys sort of humbled me a bit, and I really needed that for probably for my progression as a young man. So then I sort of chilled out as I got a bit older into high school. So
what were some defining moments of your childhood or big influences of you, shaping you as a young man?
I think my parents separated when I was 11 or 12, and then I went to live with my dad. So I grew up with my dad, and I think just me and him having just sort of that one-on-one sort of best friend and parent really showed me from a very young age that our parents are just humans. Up until that point, they were you know what I mean? You got mum and dad, and they know everything. And then it was really just we're doing this together. And it was strange for the first time realizing that, he does know everything. And it was very eye-opening, I guess. But it really changed the way I look at the world, because I was like, adults are just big kids figuring it out.
It's their first time at life too.
For sure.
And I feel the exact same way that with my parents now, they've been in the mines for the last 16 years, close to, over in WA. They've just retired.
Wow.
I barely saw them. Honestly, probably once a year, come back for Christmas.
Yep.
So we had a lot of social media relationships. So I watched them age.
Yeah. Through pictures.
Every year.
Wow.
Through every year they come back, and I'm in my head, I'm like, holy shit. But they're retired now, and our relationship is we're mates rather than, because we're both adults, we're both grown, we're mates rather than parents and children. And I have the same thing, man. It's it's their first time going through life too, and they don't have all the answers. And I always had this perception of mum and dad know it all.
Same. Yeah, for sure.
And there's also another side to that, whereas which is a bit naive of me, but I always just thought that mum and dad were going to live forever.
Yeah.
I was
man.
And every time they came back, they're getting older and older, and I'm like, holy shit, mum and dad aren't going to be around forever.
Yeah.
And as a kid, you grow up, you go, mum and dad are superheroes.
Take it for granted a little bit.
Massively take it for
definitely
granted.
take time for granted when you're younger, I think.
100%. And now it's because I spent so much time away from them, and then I had this realization that, holy shit, you can see them getting older and older, and they're not moving like how they used to. And I want to spend more quality time with them.
Yes,
You know,
yeah,
and
for sure.
whereas you growing up, you were always just like, piss off, mum and dad, or
Too busy.
you
Too
get
busy and too cool.
or you're getting
Way
annoyed with them
too
or something.
cool,
And now
yeah,
it's just
for
like
sure.
now those things that used to annoy me when I was a kid, or later in the teens and stuff, I just laugh at them. Like all their annoying habits that they do.
Mannerisms and
Yeah, man, I
for
can
sure,
just take
for
the piss
sure.
out of it and like actually enjoy those quality time
Yeah.
with your mum and dad. So I can definitely feel that. How difficult was the divorce when you were
Yeah,
growing
it
up?
was. I
On
really,
yourself, yeah.
I really struggled with it. And sort of the family dynamic because I have a younger brother too. So the way the family kind of like separated, I guess. Like my little brother went to live with mum, and then I lived with dad. So just the way it happened, sort of thing. So that was really difficult. And like then I sort of lost touch with them for a while, and we reconnected when I was like older, like an adult, probably closer to like 18, 19. So it was yeah, I think it was really difficult. Just like we said before, the first realization that like nothing is actually permanent, like going from being a child's mind of everyone's going to live forever, you don't lose anyone. I'd never experienced like any form of loss in a death or separation, etc. And then to lose 2 out of the 4 people of my 4 family, I was like, wow, this is like, I definitely struggled with it and became very angry, which is how I sort of got into boxing. And I think that saved me from probably getting myself into
Trouble.
in trouble for sure.
Yeah,
100%. 100%.
Sort of, I think boxing's always that good skill that it just channels that anger, that frustration into something sort of positive.
Yes, constructive. Yeah,
constructive.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Otherwise,
Yeah, we can. I know what you mean. We go off the rails a little bit, and like that. Even boxing, but also that physical activity. Was that when you sort of realized, like, oh, that exercise, letting out these, those emotions and not suppressing it. It's a good way to sort of keep your mental health in check.
For sure. And I think, like, I definitely struggle with mental health like issues like depression, anxiety. But I realized even from that young age that when I'm training, it's almost like an antidepressant. I just feel like I've got a purpose and I've got a reason to get out of bed, and it keeps me kind of level. And then I notice, things happen and you go, oh, I'll just skip a day, and it turns into a week. And then I was like, man, I feel way worse when I actually don't do some form of exercise. It doesn't have to be boxing, but yeah. And that's, I think, the other like pivotal point in my life where I realized that like I need to move my body in some way. Like,
so it's good that you found the answer, or not the answer, but you found a remedy earlier on.
Definitely.
How to like keep yourself in a good headspace. What were some of your favorite memories growing up?
Probably my like just meeting everyone with the boxing, because it was just like a bunch of different like people from all different areas. We'd travel all around. So I'm from like Townsville, so North Queensland, but we got up to like Babinda, so like all these tiny little communities, and we'd fight like all the local boys and stuff. But I was like 14, 15 fighting in these events, and just never been around drunk people in my life because my dad doesn't drink, and just the crowd getting into it. And it was just like the coolest shit ever. Like you just feel like a rock star and you're like 14, but it was just like, I look back at it fondly. And even, you have a fight with the guy and then afterwards you like hug and like, oh, we were 14, so you don't have a beer, but you have like a Diet Coke or whatever. And everyone's chilling. It was this realization like, oh, like that's when I really decided that like whatever I did in the future, I wanted to travel around and meet people from different places.
Yeah, so, and realize that we're all the same, aren't we? Like,
doesn't matter what color we are. We're literally just all the same deep down, I think,
And it makes you ever think like, the height of that adrenaline when you're just 14 and you think you're under the big lights. Imagine what it would be like in Vegas when you're,
Man, I can't imagine. I honestly can't imagine when you got like, I think
millions of people watching
on TV too.
Yeah.
And then these lads that fight like in the UFC and it's their hometown. So, every person, if you're in the UFC, like every person that's ever met you would be at that event.
100%. Like, and you were treated like a rock star.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
Like I had a ex-UFC fighter come on the podcast a couple of months ago, and I was like, to be honest with you, what's it like? Because it looks like every guy wants to be you and every girl wants to be with you. And it's just like, honestly, you were treated like, it's the modern day rock stars, your modern day gladiators. Everyone's just looking at you and it's just like, who the hell are these guys?
Because not many people can do that, man. Like, that's hectic.
Oh, I had a conversation with a mate the other day, my barber, and I was like, you have to be cut from a different cloth, a different type of person.
For sure.
Like boxing to get in the ring.
Oh, but I take my hat off, especially to people that would then want to also, and don't get me wrong, like pro level boxing is the same in my eyes, like pros, but I was just doing the amateur boxing, but like pro boxing and then pro MMA, like where you're getting punched by the best punches or like elbowed, like that's a
Kicked is just like
kicked, like that's another level.
It's
like,
another level,
yeah, for
yeah,
sure,
100%.
for sure.
What did you think your life would look like at that age? Did you have a plan? Obviously, doing competitive eating full time, I guess, wasn't in the
card. Nah, it wasn't on the bingo card for sure. No, I honestly thought like, I guess what they sell you in school kind of thing, you know, like primary school, high school, uni, job, wife, kids, like sort of that. So I thought I'd just go to uni and figure it out, and that would be me forever, sort of thing, as you do when you're younger.
Did you go to uni?
No, well, I went for a day, and then I looked around and decided that this is just like school, and I
wasn't a fan of school either.
No, like I did well in school, but I just don't like. I'm a very hands-on person. I don't really like sitting still if I can avoid it.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, I was very, very lucky. I forget his name, but the guy that was our coordinator for physiotherapy, he was like, who wants to be a sports physio? And like, we were all like, yes. And he's like, all right, 2% of you will be sports physios, and it probably won't be for like 6 or 7 years after all your rural placement. So if you would like, you can opt out to do something else before consensus, so before you have to start paying for uni.
What a truth bomb, eh?
Oh, man. I went up to him afterwards and shook his hand and said, thank you so much. Where's that form? I'm out. I'm done.
So how good is that? Not
amazing.
Lies,
amazing.
You know?
It didn't have to pay for uni, so like didn't waste any more time. I got a job after that, and then became a PT, which is like I just wanted to be around sport, I guess. But yeah, I think that level of honesty, we need more of it, because otherwise, if he was like, yeah, you're all going to make it, you're all going to be, and they don't tell you what's in the middle of it. Like I have a lot of friends that were like, bro, you're crazy. What are you doing? And then they all did other stuff, you know, so they've got to pay for half of this course and the next course. But it is what it is, I guess. Hey.
Yeah. So after that, where'd you go? I know we talked before that you got into the mines. How long were you in there for?
I was actually only in the mines for a year, so that was just this last year briefly.
Oh, good.
Yeah, which was a blessing. And then before that, I was working in a juvie.
Oh, right.
As a youth worker. So
how was that?
Yeah, really good. Yeah. Really, really good. My overall goal with all of this stuff is to like end up doing like motivational speaking and like make that my actual career.
Yeah.
Because I would love to work within like juvies and prisons and stuff. Sort of showing people and being around that sort of environment to say, hey, there is other opportunities and other ways, sort of thing, because like somewhere in between, you know, the juvie work and the boxing, because I stopped boxing when I was like 17, 18, I definitely fell in with the wrong crowd. And there was a big part of my life where I definitely did assume I'd be probably dead or in prison by this age, like before I was 30.
Really?
So, and there was one stage in my life, in my younger life, where I honestly couldn't imagine, because we were like just struggling after I'd left home, like couldn't imagine like how I would pay the bills unless it was through some form of illegal activity. So to flip that, and so when I was working in the juvie, to talk to these kids and realize that we are literally the same. The way we look at stuff the same, is just, I was just very blessed that I've got a good support network that kind of, you know, whether they realize it or not, showed me that there are better ways or you know, more positive ways to do that sort of stuff.
So is that driving force to help that those kids in there and let them know that, like, oh, you know, we might not have the same path, but our journeys are similar.
Oh, for sure. And I think self-belief is the thing that gets people in trouble and stuck, because when you believe you can't do anything other, like, you know, if you're doing crime or you're doing something wrong, or, you know, even if you're doing a job that you hate, if you believe that you can't do anything else, you'll just keep doing it. And I was talking to a lot of these boys in the juvie, and they were great. You know, they like football players, rappers, they could be anything, but they just don't believe that they can be.
Yeah, it's that thing, eh?
It's so sad. Some of the most talented people I've ever met are like these 17-year-old young men, but no one's ever told them that they can do stuff, so they go, oh, I can't do that. Like,
it's that condition into you from a very young age, and even overcoming failures it's so important for kids to go through those failures and know that they can overcome it. Because when we're adults, you know, you get to this point in life where you've overcome so much that, you know, you have some sort of self-confidence that when something happens, you can get through it.
For sure.
But when you're a young kid, you don't know that you can get through it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's so true.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't know if this sort of setback you'll be able to get through it, because I don't want to use the term like reps under the belt, but you don't have the reps to know that
That's
you
so
can.
true though.
You know,
yeah,
to get through.
it's your first time.
It's your first time.
It's like your first breakup. It's the worst.
It's the worst ever.
It's the worst ever.
And that's the thing in life with those kids. It's they need that mentor or that guidance just to let them know that, like, yeah, you've gone down this, wrong path.
Yeah, for sure.
But it doesn't mean that you have to stay on that wrong path.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
can always get off it and go another way. And I think, do they know when you? Because you don't work in there now. Still,
No.
Oh,
So
I was going to say, if you went in there now, they probably know who you are and be
so
like.
it's been really, really nice, and this is what sparked me to be like, all right, I want to just build up the brand that I'm doing now, and then start doing more like mental health talks and motivational speaking, because that's always been a big goal of mine since I was younger. But I had a few of the boys, because I had like the older lads in there, so once they turned like 18, 19, 20, I'd have a few of them like follow me on Instagram and be like, oh, like, do you remember me? And I'd be like, yeah, of course I do, because they're all like adults now. And it was so nice to go to see them like celebrating my success and telling me that they're, they've got a wife or they've got a missus and a baby and they're out of trouble, they're doing an apprenticeship. So it was sort of like, wow, like they're actually like, because they even said like, good for you to do something positive with your life. Because I'd tell them pretty in-depth stuff when we were all like locked in together. And it goes both ways. It was so awesome to be able to say the same thing to them. And look at you, bro. Like, I met you in jail basically, and
turn your life around.
And you've turned your life around. It just shows that it's so possible.
And what did you do in there? Was a lot of just mentoring and that sort of.
Yeah, well, like the way the detention center works with, like, because I was in Townsville, so it's like the youth detention center. It's technically like not a jail, but my role was like youth worker, but you're pretty much just like a hybrid between a youth worker and a security guard.
Oh, right.
So like, if the kids kick off and if there's like some kind of fight, like you need to be hands on, but you also like, the whole goal is to just keep things super mellow. So it's sort of like, they just didn't have the staff to do everything. So you'd be like youth working, but then if there's a fight, you'd be like trying to pull this kid back, like get away. But for the most part, it was, really eye-opening and made me realize, like you said, it's just this, if you've been conditioned to think that you're not going to amount to anything, like it's easy to understand why you don't try, for 100%. Sure.
So when did these food challenges kick off, and like how did it all begin? Because did you always have the ability to eat a shit ton of food?
Yeah, no. So I've always had like a big appetite, but no way could I eat like this amount. It's something I've like built up to, and I'm still trying to increase it. Through like stomach stretching, as weird as that sounds. But like once I stopped boxing, I was sort of like, then I did some bodybuilding, and did some bodybuilding shows, and I was sort of like, oh, it's just
cool.
It was different, but it just wasn't quite the same. Like nothing will match the adrenaline of like, you're in the middle of the ring and you think, oh, this guy's going to try and take my head off. And I was really chasing. I think that's
that adrenaline and that fight or flight.
Yeah, I think that's how I also found myself in like bad situations as a younger guy, because I'm chasing that feeling.
It can be addictive.
Very addictive, for sure, for sure. So, so then I stopped bodybuilding and went back to boxing. Did some like just prize fights, I guess, which was fun. Like that was really fun. But then I would just the bigger I got, the bigger the guys I fought got, and I started getting concussed a lot. And I was like, oh, all this news about CTE and brain damage, and I was like, I'm not really looking to have like long-term damage, more so than I might already have from years of being hit. So then I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I was just training to be fit. Was doing some CrossFit and was like, this is really fun. I'm like, but I need a goal. And like, I don't really want to compete in anything. Like I've competed my whole life. And then I did a food challenge as a laugh at the local pub, and then got absolutely smoked by it. But I was like, man, this is something I could train for. This is something I could like motivate me to keep staying fit. And this is something I could also learn, like a new hobby. So then I was like, just dove straight into it because I needed a thing.
Sounds like you're all or nothing type of guy.
For sure, bro. For sure. I was like, I need a thing. So then I started studying, like, how do I get better? How do these pros practice? And it also kept me accountable in like the gym, because I was like, well, now I've got to do cardio. Otherwise I'm gonna get real fat. So, and then I did a few videos just as a laugh. And then, they were sort of going all right. And I think it took like 6 months of just getting like no engagement, and one video just got 1 million views, and I was like, wow, all right, well, this is fun, and that little bit of dopamine as well, of like having that bit of recognition.
That little external validation.
It is. It really.
We all chase
it's
a
a real
bit,
thing
for
sure, for sure. And it's taken me so that was 6 months into it, and now it's like 18 months. So it's like a year after. So, that was like 6 months into it. It got bigger, and it's been like a year since then, almost sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's taken me that whole year between the 6 month point and now to like not just let the views on my video dictate my mood. Because initially, like when it took off and I realized I could turn it into something, I was still working in the mines and stuff. But then I post a video and I'd be like, all right, now don't get too attached to it. But then if it didn't do the views I wanted to get, I would be like, oh, it sucks. I've fallen off. And it'd be like, like the fear of like, oh, what if people don't like it? And then like, I think we had this chat beforehand, you're sort of living for the likes, and it's so easy to like
get sucked into it.
It's really hard. Yeah,
and especially
for sure.
when it's when you put yourself on social media, when you're doing stuff personal to you, something that you enjoy, something personal to me that I enjoy, and when someone doesn't like it or someone doesn't approve of it, it's a natural response to be like, "Fuck, I suck,"
and it feels so personal.
It's so personal because it is personal.
It's like I'm doing this. Yeah.
You're showing all you
for sure
in content, and when someone doesn't like it, it's so hard to not get attached to it.
For sure, yeah.
But it's also such a quality skill to learn. It's what I put out there, and same with you. When I put content out there, it's content that I love.
Yes,
it's not what the audience loves.
For sure,
and it's very hard to think that as the audience comes second.
Yeah,
I come first with my art. This is what I love.
Yes,
this comes first, and I heard Rick Rubin say it the other day when he talked about putting music out. It's the best thing you can do for your audience, the best possible thing you can do for your audience is to do the best thing for you.
Yes, yeah, that makes sense.
The best thing for you is the best thing for the audience. When you start sort of putting content out, and I've done it.
Yeah, we've all done it. We've all done it.
I've made the mistake of putting content out thinking that this is what the audience likes. And yeah, some people might like it, but I've looked back on it and gone, I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that because I didn't like that.
For sure. And it probably wouldn't feel as authentic.
Not at all. And I'd rather be disliked for my own authentic content, my own authentic self than be liked for someone that I'm not.
For sure. Yeah.
100%.
It is so hard though. Hey?
Oh, brother.
So hard.
It is. So when you're doing these food challenges, and I saw one, I love them. I watch all of them. Because I came on I probably came on last year, so I had to go back and look at some old ones. I appreciate
it. Cheers, bro. Thank you.
And then I saw one, I can't do dairy at all.
Oh, bro.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I came across, you did a 3 kilo burger challenge, and then I went back and I think you did a 3 kilo Baskin Robbins.
Oh, the Sunday, yeah.
The Sunday.
Yeah.
I was almost dry heaving watching
man,
that.
Was a lot of
because I can't do that. I can't do any dairy at all.
Fair.
What's going through your head, man, when you're in the midst of these challenges? Are you clear-headed? Is it similar to when you're boxing? Are you sort of keeping a clear mind, or are you just like you're just fighting?
Honestly, just depends on the food challenge. Like if it's like a big burger, and I know because with weight wise, like I sort of know what my stomach capacity is at the moment. So we build up, but someone can tell me the weight of something normally, and I can go whether yes or no I can do that. So I can.
Really?
So like,
what's your limit?
I think the most I've ever done is probably like just pushing around like the 3.6 kilos of food. Like so I did 3.5 something kilos of burrito like the other day.
Yeah, the Guzzi burrito.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah.
Was that 3.5?
Yeah. So because I was blessed enough when I was in Bali just recently. I did this is a crazy story. I actually did an eating challenge with a guy called Zamat Neo, and his stomach capacity is like 8 something kilos, bro.
What?
Incredible. I swear to God. So he did a 3 kilo burger at lunch, and then he came and did a 3.7 kilo burger at dinner in the same day, like 4 hours later. And I missed out by like one handful because I ran out of time and also stomach space. But I just did the 3.7 kilo burger, and it was like one hand of bread. And I was like, I'm physically going to lose this thing here. I don't want to be sick on camera.
Do you? Have you ever been sick on camera?
No, but touch wood. Yeah, but like, I think sort of just trial and error. I've got like, that was the closest I've ever been to on camera, because you can go like,
your limit.
Your limit. Like definitely been sick afterwards, because sometimes it'll be like 3-4 hours later, like you said, like it's something dairy. Yeah. And if it just sits there and it'll just sit, and like your body must just go like, nah.
Get it out of me.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
like, because it's normally like everyone's like, oh, you must just eat and be sick. It's like I'll never make myself be sick afterwards. But if it's gonna just happen on its own accord, I'm not gonna fight nature. Like,
So that guy you met in Bali, did you sort of get in his ear, and how did he?
yes, yeah. He's actually been giving me tips. Like
has he?
we've been chatting on Instagram. He's
Yeah.
amazing. He's
Shout out to him.
shout out, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure anyone that's watching my stuff would be watching his stuff. He's got like millions on Instagram, millions on TikTok, millions on YouTube. It's his full-time thing. But I was just like, bro, how do you do that? And he was just like, practice. Like
Really?
practice.
Practice eating or practice stretching the
Stretching the stomach.
Yeah.
He said, but like if you can do both at once, like, you know, so like if you're doing your videos, he said like do maybe two stomach stretches a week where you're like really stretching if you want to get better quicker.
And how do you stretch your stomach?
So if it's not like a challenge, so if
Yeah.
it's not like a big hectic challenge, it might be something like sitting there with like a shitload of like broccoli, watermelon, and like diet soft drink, and just basically trying to consume as much of that as possible. Almost to the point where you're like, or like going to a buffet. That's another one. But the only problem with the buffet and trying to just eat as much as you can is calorie count wise. If you do the buffet one a lot, you start to like, it's so easy to put on a lot of weight.
It's easy to blow out.
So easy to blow out. And then if
Yeah.
I'm doing like paid collaborations and stuff in between it, like it's starting to look like I'm eating like 8,000 calories every day, and my waist goes like, nah, bro, you can't do that. So the veggies and diet soft drink is like a good little hack to try and increase the stomach capacity without having like 6,000 calories in that one meal.
How do you go though? I always wondered, like, because obviously your stomach's at a large capacity. How do you go when you just want a normal meal that to feel full? You know what I mean?
I like always have like a liter bottle of soda water on the side, and I'll eat it, and I'll normally just drink the whole liter afterwards.
Just so you can feel full.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because you would never feel full.
Not really, not for like,
Yeah.
because you have a normal feed, which is plenty of food. Like I know like
it's
you know
enough.
calorically, like that's loads, and I'm just like So I've definitely found that I've decreased my window of eating, like not for any like scientific benefits, but purely because I know like if I eat in a smaller window of time, I can just eat bigger meals and feel fuller. But like if I start, like when I was in the mines, like you know what it's like, you have like breakfast at this time, then crib, and then like the day is so long. Like if I ate till I was like satisfied every meal, like I've eaten like 6 meals that day, man. I was like blowing out. I was like,
it's funny because like I've done a couple of food challenges in my time.
Yep,
I did one at the Moolbar pub. I did Palmageddon.
oh yeah, nice.
It would have been ages ago now. And then I went through a stage when I was trying to put on weight for rugby, and I was just like, I did it the most unhealthy way. I'll try to get to 100 kilos.
Oh, the old dirty bulk approach?
Fuck, mate. I was trying to do, I think my record, I did 7 bacon deluxes.
Well, that's a good effort,
Yeah,
bro. That's
I
a
love
mad
bacon
effort.
deluxes.
Yeah.
So I went through a period of like doing food challenges, and then I was like, how do I get myself in the Guinness Book of Records? I never told anyone this before. And I tried to break the record for eating the cucumber the fastest.
Oh,
Has to be
yeah?
a 30-centimeter cucumber.
Oh, shit. Amazing.
I was like, it was like the guy got it down in like 22 seconds.
Holy
I was like, holy
shit.
shit. So I gave it a go. I gave it a go for a week and I couldn't get it down. And I was like, oh, yeah, food eating's not for me.
Oh,
Get better
bro.
at eating.
And even like, I would sort of say what I do is like professional content creation, because then you've got like those actual, like the guys that actually compete against each other.
Yeah.
They're so good, bro. They are like where they actually compete, they're like so hectic
Like
good.
the hot dog guys and
Oh,
those
bro.
ones.
Yeah. Like the actual
Yeah.
like competitive eaters. Like I would just say I'm like a food challenge enthusiast, but the guys that do it like competitively, fuck, man.
Unreal, eh?
Unreal. Shout out to Jay Webby, the Australian competitive eater. He just did like 220 chicken wings in 10 minutes. But which is a world record. So he just set the world record.
Is
But
he just eating the bones?
I don't know. I was like,
because that's
he's a-
delicate. You've got to like, there would have to be rules and like how much.
yeah,
meat
how
is
much
off.
meat. So I mean, he's also practiced, like you know,
Yeah.
he's a proper athlete
Yeah.
when it comes to this stuff. So, but yeah, I wouldn't even have the space for 220 wings if I had 6 hours. But
Yeah.
so it's just different levels, I
It
guess.
is, isn't
Hey,
it?
like
Even like those, I watched the hot dog eating ones over in America, and it's just like all
Like-
the competitors are fit
for sure. Oh, definitely.
people. And
yeah,
I think
yeah.
I can't remember the guy who always wins it. There's
Joey Chestnut.
Joey
Oh, I
Chestnut.
love that guy, bro.
He's a weapon.
He's so cool, man.
but he's like not skinny, but
no,
like,
I think he's like 100 kilos at 6 foot. Like
yeah, but he's in good shape
for sure. Yeah,
And
he's
just-
by no means fat. Like yeah.
at all. It's just it's interesting. It's like, have you ever done a challenge where you couldn't do it?
Oh yeah, loads
Oh, is it?
for sure, bro. Yeah, and I always post up even the ones that smoke me, I'll post them up.
Yeah.
Just like it adds a bit more of like one, it adds a bit more of a human element, but I think two, when I started, I was like, oh, I don't want to like. I would always post them, but I'm like, oh, I don't want to post the ones that I don't do. And then someone was like, no, we like it because that way we don't know if you're going to do the challenge or not. Like we actually want to watch it because if you only post the ones you do, we're like, well, you'll do it.
We know that
you're going to do it. So they're like, so if you just miss it or like you just get it or whatever, like we legitimately don't know if you'll do it or not. I'm like, oh, I just thought, like social media, I just thought you're just going to get shit
post
on.
your wins.
Yeah, or but not even that. Like you post your losses and everyone's like, you suck. And I was like really fragile ego when I started because like I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. Going from almost like I would just deactivate my socials all the time. So going from no socials and no one cares to all of a sudden you're putting yourself out there and everyone's got an opinion. And I was like, whoa, this is like too much almost. Like very overwhelming to start with. And I was like, why does everyone care? But at the same time, I'm putting myself in a public like spotlight to be judged if I want to,
To be criticized.
For sure, 100%. Yeah.
It's crazy like how that is the world of social media where we're trying to put ourselves out there, but at the same time, there's going to be good or there's going to be bad.
For sure. Oh, yeah.
But you know what, though? That happens in life in general. It just, no one's going to come up to your face and say it to your face.
That's so true. I mean? Like, that's so true.
Like, not everyone likes you in real life, and you don't like everyone else in real life.
Of course,
it's funny just when it is social media, people have that keyboard courage just to write
for sure
terrible things, and they would never say it to your face.
No, no way. And I mean, the comedian Ricky Gervais made a really good point because he always does those jokes where he like bags everyone out, and
love it.
And his missus is always like, "Don't say that." But he made a good point. He said, "Well, they're not going to come to the house. Like, don't stress." Which is so true. So with Facebook, I try to remind myself, or Facebook, Instagram, I'm like, would I want to have coffee with this person? And if the answer is no, like, I don't really care what they have to say. Like, You're an idiot. Like, a lot of the time, oh, he's a criminal with face tats and all this shit. And man, if that's someone's opinion in reality, it's taken me the better part of 2 years almost to realize that they're allowed to have their opinion. But for the first 6 to 12 months, I would be like, my feelings.
Yeah, it still hurts a little bit sometimes.
It's still a bit tender at times.
Yeah, 100%. And what about, I guess a lot of people would be wondering, and I'm sure you'd get sort of messages and comments about it, is around your health.
Oh, for sure.
Just in terms of
definitely.
how, obviously, you strike me as a person that would take that very seriously and not going to do it silly. What health precautions have you put in place? And obviously, you would have talked to a doctor, I guess.
For sure. And the doctor said basically, he likened it to boxing. He said, what's the best way to box? Don't box. Don't get hit. He said, what's the best way to do food challenges? Don't do them. He said, but I know what you like and you're going to do them anyway. I said, for sure. He said, so if you're going to do something that I would advise against, we can at least try and monitor it in a sense where what's your blood pressure doing? What's your fitness like? What's your weight doing too? He said, your body will speak to you, your body will literally speak to you. He said, if you feel terrible, come to me straight away. He said, but we could check your blood pressure, your blood sugar, that sort of stuff. Just all your basic sort of vitals, I guess. But I definitely notice I'll go on a bit of a tour sometimes and do challenges back to back to back, which I definitely don't recommend. But after that, that's when I need to take a full week of no processed food, loads. I always train a lot, but extra cardio to sort of bring myself back to my normal baseline. Because after a few hectic big food challenges in a row, I can feel it. I can feel that I'm holding more water and I feel really tired. And I'm like, wow, if this is what eating like this all the time feels like, I don't want to feel like that. So it's definitely, I've definitely been very blessed with people around and within the medical profession too, that can kind of go this is the things we need to even cholesterol levels and stuff like that. But of course I always go, if you want to stop now, it's probably the healthiest way to do it would be to not do it. I'm I understand.
Yeah. But there are, I love that because you're sticking to guidelines of
for sure.
These are the calories, or this is what I got to do, and then it's almost the same thing where I was I've got to get in the gym. I saw the other day, or you do it. I think you do it all the time. I see you do 2 hours on the assault bike.
Oh yeah.
I do 15 minutes on the assault bike, and I'm get me off.
I'm actually building up to what's the day? next Monday, actually, I've got a challenge that I haven't passed before, but I'm going to burn 10,000 calories and consume 20,000 calories in a 24-hour period.
Holy
And
shit.
so that's one of my biggest ones ever. So I started when I was doing these food challenges, I actually started doing a bit of like fitness and food. Now I've done like more food, but as I'm trying to naturally evolve the page and the channel, and it's sort of easier now because I have more eyes, I want to do more like fitness and food challenges, also to show people that like the food stuff's awesome, but if you don't do all this other stuff, like there's no way I could do this unless I did like 10 plus hours of cardio a week. But also it's fun. Like I find it fun in a kind of sick way to show people like how long it can take to burn this food. Like I did I did a 12 Krispy Kreme challenge, and it was like 2,400 calories. And then I was like, and now I'm going to sit on the assault bike until the screen says 2,400 calories. It took me like 3 hours, bro. I was
Really?
like, and that's like perspectively, I guess that's why people say you can't out-train a bad diet. You probably can, but it takes so long.
Long.
And if you have, I'm very blessed now that I've got the time.
You've got 3 hours to sit on a assault
But
bike.
that's what I mean. What normal person that's not like,
Yeah.
now that I'm doing this full time, I have a lot more time to train. Whereas when I was in the mines and stuff, I would only do maybe one challenge a swing off max. Because like you said, no one's got that time, bro.
Yeah.
Like kids, family, job, like that's too long.
I think
But
people are pushing 30 minutes for gym or something like that.
of
these
course,
days. Yeah,
of course. So that's why I like to sort of do those little comparison videos. Because like you said, if you don't have the time, you can't eat that 12, that donut.
So how are you going to lose the 10,000 calories, and then how are you putting? What are you doing to put on 20,000? I've kind of made it a bit easier on myself with the 10,000 calorie burn. So because you obviously burn calories at rest, I'm going to include the calories. So I probably burn like 2,000 to 2,500 calories at rest, like my BMR, basal metabolic rate, just by chilling. So we're going to factor that into the calories. So I don't have to burn an additional 10,000. It'll probably be like 7,500, 8,000. But it's probably going to look like three or four sessions of 3 or 4 hours on the assault bike. I've done something similar before, and I've burnt the 10,000 calories. But I fell short of the 20,000 calories. So the rules are, starts at midnight on the 17th of March. I've got to consume 10,000 calories of solid food, and then the additional, like the rest of the 20,000 can come from like milkshakes, whatever. And then I've got to burn the 10,000 calories from midnight to midnight. So I'm organizing something with my gym at the moment to have like a little, so they don't mind that I film and stuff, because like it'll be in the corner. I always try and film away from people training. But also too, like it sort of keeps it fresh for me, because I love the food challenges, but I need... You need a goal.
I need a goal. I'm so goal orientated. Yeah. I've got a lot of long-term goals.
Yeah.
But I need some short-term goals. So this is fun. And then also we're going to run some... it's interactive, because I'm in my Instagram stories and stuff. I'm like, what do you guys want to see me eat? I've got 20,000 calories. So
that's a lot.
That's a lot. You can add suggestions, and people like Woolies Mud Cake, Tim Tams, Wendy's.
So you've got no limit or no... You don't say no to any food?
Well, it sort of just depends. If it sort of makes sense and it's readily available, I'll definitely do it. If it's like someone's like a jar of Vegemite, I'm like, nah.
But in general, when you do your food challenges, are you opposed to any food? Or
No, not really. Like I'm honestly down for anything really. The only thing that I won't do is like a spice challenge that's also a volume challenge.
Yeah, okay.
So if it's a spice challenge, that's fine. But if it's like eat 3 kilos of super hot thing, like it just does too much damage on your body.
Oh, does it?
Like, just the volume. Like so much volume, it hurts after a while if you're eating a lot. Like anyone that's done, with the more volume you do, you just go, oh. Yeah. But if you add in the pain of spice,
I've never really thought about that.
It's too much. It's too much. I've had a few people offer like, oh, we want you to do this challenge, and it's like, a 3 kilogram ramen or something. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. They're like, and it's also like ghost peppers. I'm like, that's just like proper suffering for no real good reason.
You're trying
to kill me.
Yeah,
so
what's going on here?
And that's what I said to them. Like, I do food challenges because I love food, not because I don't like myself. Like, I'm not trying to suffer. Suffering is a byproduct sometimes.
100%. You're not an extremist in that way.
No, I'm not trying to actually.
I'm trying to have fun. Like,
I do love food. And dieting in between the food makes me super hungry to get to the food and go, oh man, this is good. Like, this is enjoyable.
Yeah. And I guess the food challenges is just, one part of your story. And something that I really like to talk about is your mental health. And what I really admire about you is how open and raw and honest you are about your own sort of struggles. Why are you such an advocate for mental health? And can you talk a little bit about your own journey?
Yeah, for sure, bro. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the support. And like, I think it's one of those things. And that's why I love what you're doing as well, is I sort of realized at a younger age that like I really do struggle to be happy. Like I sort of thought you just are, once I started realizing that, like, not for everyone, but for a lot of us, if not probably most of us, happiness is a choice that you've got to really work hard to choose. And then I was really suffering with like depression, anxiety. I lost a few friends to suicide, but it just got me thinking like, why didn't I know about this stuff younger? Like, because I feel like, we're probably at that last age where like people younger than us probably had sort of more training and education in school, but our parents' generation and stuff, like mental health wasn't a thing. Like, I remember telling, like, he's great now. My dad's so supportive. He gets it. He understands. But I was explaining to dad about anxiety and he was like, I actually don't know if that's real. And I'm like, I'm telling you, and we had fights over it. Like, I'm telling you, this is how I feel. And he'd be like, well, just don't worry. But now it's completely different. He's so well
and
more
that's
informed.
no fault of his either.
Of course.
My dad, my parents, the same. It's just that generation.
Of course. Of course.
It's that re-education, isn't it? Yeah.
100%. And, I've been blessed with, having such a supportive support network, and then, going to the juvie, and sort of I was just looking around and was like, man, a lot of these kids as well have like undiagnosed depression, anxiety. And I think that's why they chase drugs and they do stuff. And I thought, like, why aren't we talking about it? And I think it was like it was uncool. Like, or it's like, like you're soft, and unfortunately you're weak, unfortunately with the Australian culture, which I love, part of it's like, she'll be right, which is great.
Because sometimes you need that.
Sometimes you need
you need to pucker up.
For sure. Yeah.
She'll be right.
100%. And you can't just like, the second things get hard, you still need to go like you said before, like reps in the belt, like, that you've done it before, you can do it again. But the problem when it comes to like mental health and talking about it is we've probably only got so many times you can suppress it before it comes out in other ways. And I was like, shit, why isn't someone talking about it? And I was like, well, if I start, then maybe other people will feel comfortable to share their stories as well, sort of thing.
Have you found that on your socials?
Yeah.
Has it been wild? Has it?
It's been I'm so grateful that I'm in a position now where people trust me with their stuff. But the amount of people, I'll do a video and I'll sometimes I post shit and I'm like, oh, I don't really, there's probably a bit much information. But I'll post it anyway, and then people will reach out and go, oh, like that really related to that. I had a similar experience, or I had a similar feeling or a similar plan or something like this. And I go, wow, like this is exactly what you said. Like, I don't think if I put myself out there, people would know that they can come to me. I guess it goes both ways. The more vulnerable you are, the more vulnerable people can be with you, because they know that it's sort of give and take.
You open up that sort of line of communication where it's just like, oh, he's not just a guy that likes to eat a lot. He's one of us.
For sure.
For sure. More relatable. And going back to sort of the kids, and even growing up, like when we were kids growing up, and I went to Gabor Mate. He's a ortho psychologist. He specializes in sort of trauma and addiction and stuff. I went and saw him in Gold Coast here live, and he was doing a seminar, and he was talking. The lady got up and said, how do I not pass on my trauma to my kids?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a great question. Like, cause I've always thought about that too. Being, I want to be a father. And he said one thing you can do is don't hide reality from your kids.
Yeah.
Cause when you're a kid, you can always tell when someone's lying to you.
For sure.
Or you can always say, like, if your parents are saying one thing but they're acting a different way, your kids pick up on it.
For sure.
So he's like, for one thing, doesn't matter how bad the situation is, don't hide reality from your kids. Give them tools and ways to cope with reality.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
if you don't, we will find our own ways to cope with reality. And I'm sure you did. I definitely found my own ways to cope with reality. And our ways as kids growing up might not always be the healthiest ways to cope with reality.
Yeah, most definitely.
And that's something that sort of I want to, as a father, is do that and not hide anything from the kids. And knowing what I know now is is amazing because then I can sort of bring that into fatherhood and be like, all right,
Yeah.
you know, there are going to be stresses, there's going to be problems, there's going to be hard times. We're not always going to feel happy.
Yeah.
But these are the healthy ways
Yes.
to go about
sure.
coping with those circumstances.
Yeah. Oh, so true. And there's no shame in it.
No, at all.
And there's, you don't have to be ashamed. Like I get this a lot. I'll post something out there and people will go like, I just feel like I don't want to talk about it because I have nothing to be sad about. And I'm like, bro, that is depression. Like, like it's like anxiety, worrying about worrying. They go like, my life's great. It doesn't discriminate. Like it doesn't only affect people in third world countries. In fact, that's why some people in first world countries have really bad depression and other people in worse circumstances don't. It's
because you have all these things. I expect to be happy, but I'm not, which makes it even worse.
Makes you feel so bad.
Because I have everything.
So bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'll catch myself on lower days here and I'm literally doing things that I couldn't imagine a year ago. And I feel so like guilty and I've got to check myself and go, nah, this is like, it's okay to feel this way. Because like you said, it's so easy to go, why do I feel bad? And then you go, oh, like I shouldn't feel bad. Oh my God, like I'm a piece of shit for feeling bad. And then
snowballs, doesn't it?
It gets way worse. And then you do close off.
100%. What was your hardest period of your life?
I think straight after school, like going to uni, realizing it wasn't for me, and then I sort of realized that okay, like just because this is the way that a lot of people do life, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's how I'm going to do my life. It was a realization that probably the first time in my life that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I just felt super lost and very overwhelmed because my whole life, it was just like, school, high school, uni. And it was like that was going to be, there's no thought into it. It was just, that's what I was told. That's what I'll do. So that was like trying to figure out, I guess the pressure of not, I was going to say being a man, but just being an adult, like you leave school, you're 17, 18, and all of a sudden, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, I don't even know what I want to do tomorrow. So it was extremely overwhelming. And I think, I definitely wouldn't, I'm glad it's done. I'm glad it's in the past.
I don't want to go back.
No way, bro.
People ask me like, do you want to go? I got out of there lucky. I do not want to relive it. I don't want to have to go through it again.
Agreed.
And even like what you said there is like leaving school. I think there's, I chat to kids a lot in high schools and stuff like that. And there's so much pressure. They feel so much pressure put on them by their teachers, by their parents, by society, that to be successful, to get a job, to make a living, to be worthy. I think worthiness is also a big problem, that kids don't feel worthy unless they've got good grades or they've got a high paying job or they've gone to uni. It's almost like a thing where kids are coming out and it's almost, they're people pleasing.
Yes.
They're doing things to please their loved ones, to please whoever it is.
Society,
just please society, just to seem like their friends, just to seem like, oh, he looks like he's got his shit together because he's gone to uni. And, the amount of people that I've met that don't like their life, but they're doing a uni because they think it's the good thing to do.
Yeah, the right thing. Yeah,
the right
for sure.
thing to do, and it's that thing of not putting too much pressure on yourselves, and knowing that, also especially with boys, I don't know if you experience it, but there's no rite of passage.
No.
Straight from school, you're a man. You're in the man's world. You're just like, hang on a second, like I'm still a kid.
I'm still a child. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know anything about life.
For sure.
All I've done in school, and it probably goes back to school as well. It's just like they're educating you to go to uni, but what about the real world? They're not giving you sort of too much guidance.
Yeah. What's taxes?
Yeah, like, what's all this stuff? And like a lot of kids aren't getting that from their parents because the parents are going to work or they have broken homes, and there's a lot of dysfunction in the world at the moment. And it all gets put back on kids, and they have this sort of belief and this pressure. And then, like you said, like I felt the exact same way. I was so lost and was just like, I have no idea what I want to do, but I feel like there's a rush to figure it out.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah,
I'm 34.
Yeah,
and I'm just think I've figured out what I want to do.
Yeah,
at 34.
Yeah, crazy. Hey,
and I wish I could go back to 17-year-old Elliot and just give him a hug and just be like, mate, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
You'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out. Just enjoy the moment and just go with it and search and go look for answers, and don't be scared to fail. Where I was so like, this has to be it. If I found something at 17, which I had, I'd be like, this has got to be me for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I was all in. I was like, this has got to be me.
No second choices.
Yeah, no second choices. Then when I found out I didn't like it, I was like, fuck, I'm a failure.
Yeah, gutted.
I'm gutted. Like maybe I'll try something else. And like that's the beauty of life, though. I found is like finding something, whether you like it or not, and then go, oh, well, that's not it. I'll try something else. I
Yes.
think that's where the magic lies, rather
Yeah.
than like being, conditioned into thinking, oh, I'll go to uni for 4 years to a job that I don't like and then do it for the next 30, 40 years at a
Be miserable forever.
miserable. But at least someone else thinks I'm successful.
Yeah, for sure. But on the outside,
What do you reckon was your rock bottom, or what did rock bottom look like for you?
I think I've sort of like I spoke about it a little bit on my page and stuff, but I had some pretty bad like drug addiction where it was sort of like I was a functioning drug addict, which is maybe almost worse than a non-functioning drug addict because you can hide it really well. So I was still going to work, still functioning in society, I guess you'd say. So on the outside looking in, same thing. I was, being productive. But just like I remember having this thought and it scared the shit out of me, which was I actually don't know if I can be happy without drugs. Like I don't actually know if I will ever feel like genuine happiness, like sober happiness. And it took me such a long time to actually realize that there would be a way out of it. But I think that was the rock bottom for me, which was thinking that like maybe I've actually like got myself in a position where I will never feel like real, like genuine happiness again. And then sort of the fear of like, what would I do to get out of here? And then, through the people around me and just being really blessed, honestly, I sort of worked slowly but surely out of that. But I think that for me, like looking back to that time, and, I had a friend that like, he's still like one of my best friends to this day. He said like just for me, bro, just try and go like a week without, doing drugs. And I remember thinking like, this guy's effing crazy. Like I'm going to, and I did a week and I tried. And as soon as we hit 8 days, I got straight back on it. But I was like, man, like the realization that I was like that, I was that caught, I guess, that under the hold of something really just made me feel so bad about myself. Cause I thought like, how did I get myself in this position sort of thing?
And it happens so quickly over time that you don't catch yourself at the beginning of it. You always catch yourself at the end of it when it's so intense and heightened. And for me, I think I got when we talk about sort of dealing with anxiety and depression, and I didn't know or didn't look or didn't ask for help in terms of finding ways to cope with it. And I wasn't a big drug user when I was a kid, but I got into sort of playing rugby professionally, semi-professionally, and obviously in any sort of sport, but especially in the footy scene, drugs and alcohol is for sure. Goes rampant. And I remember taking drugs for the first time, and it was the most euphoric feeling for me ever. It was, for the very first time in my entire life, I felt completely like free in the head. There was no noise in there. I was so calm. Like I was people were saying like some people take drugs and they go party or go to a rave or they get heightened. For me, when I used to take drugs, it was calming me down.
Chilling you out.
I was chilling me out.
For sure.
It doesn't matter if there were these, party drugs. I could just sit there and almost close my eyes and I just feel at peace. I was like, this is the feeling that I've been searching for my entire life. Yeah. And that became addictive. So it became like sort of Saturdays, Sundays, and then it turned into like, fuck, I need this during the week. And then in my own head, I knew that taking drugs is terrible. But at the same time, it was my only remedy that I was like, this, I was sort of late teens, early 20s, and I was always thinking like, oh, I'll sort it out later. Like future Elliot will sort it out.
Sure,
like
for sure.
I'll just do it now, and then later down the track,
I'll get a hold of it.
I'll get a hold of it. Oh, sweet. I got to 27, 28, 29, and still going through it and still doing it and still I was relying on it to feel happy, and it got to a point where I was like, I don't want to live anymore. Yeah, that's how sort of bad it got, because I felt the exact same way as you. Was I had no confidence or belief that I could feel this way without drugs. Yeah. And I think it got to that point of me wanting to end my life, that sort of flicked a switch in my head that was like, no, like your mum and dad didn't do all this sacrifice for you as a kid and work their asses off and provide and do all these things just for you to throw it away because you too were scared to go look for some answers and get better and do all these things. So I think that was like the biggest turning point in my life, where it was like, all right, how do I go from not wanting to live to where I am now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like the thought of that when you're in that moment, like that's terrifying.
Terrifying.
Yeah, for sure.
Because and for me, it was I was always looking. My problem was that I was always looking too far ahead. I was never present in the moment unless I was on drugs.
Yeah.
And then I was always present then, but sober, I was always worrying about, oh, this is so far away, or I can never attain that. And that almost brought back some meditative type practice where during my recovery, it wasn't like, I want to be fixed. You know, I want to be out. I want to be, at the end of the tunnel. I want to be all good.
Yeah.
And it made me realize, like, one day at a time.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
For sure.
Just sort out today.
Yeah.
Go to the gym, eat healthy.
Yeah.
Win the day. Just
Yeah.
win the day. Make those. And one of the biggest things I found was keeping promises to myself.
Yeah.
So they're like, even just little things, just do little things throughout the day, and then one day will turn into a week will turn into a month, and then before you know it, if you just keep being disciplined, your life will turn around.
For sure.
Even in the space, I tell people, like, 12 months, you can turn your life around in 12 months.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And it's just like keeping that sort of sticking to the process and staying in the moment and just realizing. I remember saying to myself, all right, I'm in the tunnel.
Yeah.
I don't know when the tunnel's going to end. I don't know where the light is.
Yeah.
I can't see it, but I know if I stick to it, I will get out of it.
Find it. Yeah.
And it took me, almost 6 years of going to therapy, of changing all my habits, changing my ways, changing how I thought about myself. And then before you know it, like, I'm sitting here, the happiest I've ever been, and looking back at that old Elliot, thinking, how did he get like that?
Yeah.
And how could he ever not want to live? Because
Yes,
I absolutely love every part of
For
my
sure.
life.
Yeah.
Taking drugs for me was obviously numbing those pains and numbing those feelings. Why were you taking drugs?
Yeah, I honestly believe the same. The same is that, like, and I really resonated with what you're saying about, like, just always being somewhere else, like destination addiction. I'm always like, and even with this journey, like, it's something that I remind myself daily, like, you would have killed to be here a year ago. So stop, because like, particularly now I've just turned this into my job. I'm always stressing about, like, but the money, but the this, but the that. It's that destination addiction. Like, once I get this, I'll be happy. Once I go there, I'll be happy. And I was doing the same thing before. It was like, okay, I'm always stressing about what's next, and then I'd take drugs and go, I don't care. Like, I just more like just chill, like
relief. It was
relief,
like,
and it's like, things will work out. And now I feel like that all the time because, like you said, if I can get through, if I can beat that, which just seems so impossible, then I do have faith that things will work out now because, like I guess what, and I guess that's like I feel the same as you, like the real love of life because I've had a time where I didn't love life, and now to come out the other side, it's sort of like, well, I want to sort of share my love for life because I honestly didn't believe that this was possible for myself. So I would understand someone in the same situation could look at us even and go, oh, well, it's easy for them to say because they're there now. But, it's just believing that you can get through it and believing that there is, there's more out there than just the current suffering, which is,
Yeah, and it's hard to look past that at the time, man. It's
when you're in the, when you're in the hole, you just see the hole. Like
that's it. You don't see any exit, and it's so easy to get down like that. And when I say this, and people are listening, it's not me not feeling those dark times either. Like I still go through it
for sure.
Yeah. I've gone through my own sort of challenges and getting more information about who I am as a person and understanding that. I've gone to a psychiatrist and he's put me on a sort of a spectrum of bipolar where even when I was a kid, I knew something wasn't right about me. I just knew, like, it was always a struggle and I always had to try really hard to be happy. I always had to like put it like, why can that person just be so happy all the time? And for me, I had to put in so much effort to be happy all the time. Not all the time, just to be happy in general.
I understand for sure.
And I went through my own sort of processes and finding out that bipolar is a spectrum. I'm sort of on one end of the spectrum. He goes, your highs are normal. I go, oh really? He goes, yeah, your highs are normal. Don't worry about sort of. I described it as highs and lows. He goes, your highs are normal. I went, oh sweet. I go, I feel like there's a butt coming, and he's like,
but
and he goes, but your lows are more low than sort of everyone else.
Yeah, your baseline is lower.
My baseline's lower. So before I used to get stuck in these ruts for 2 or 3 days of feeling down and sort of let it consume me.
Yep.
And then wouldn't put any effort, wouldn't acknowledge it, wouldn't tell anyone about it. They were just all, everyone just thought I was moody. You know?
Yeah, bro.
Extremely
I
moody.
relate to that, actually.
You know, everyone was like, oh, yeah, that's always you. We always tell us the start of the day if Elliot's on or Elliot's off. And I'm like, fuck, why hasn't everyone like said anything to me about it? But it gave me a lot of clarity around like, just because you are in a bad mood, it doesn't mean that you can't get yourself out of it. So I always can tell at the start of the day, or something's happened, or I get triggered by something, or something could sort of just put me down a little dark hole. I acknowledge it now. I tell Jordan. I tell my friends.
Yeah.
I say it out loud.
Yeah.
And then I go, all right, what do I got to do to fix it?
Yeah.
And then it's that trial and error. Like the more you put effort into it, the more answers you'll get in return. So now it's just like, I've got a cold plunge and sauna set up in my house.
Nice.
So so straight in the garage, cold plunge sauna.
Yeah.
See how I feel after that. That normally does it. And I'm like, or if it's not that, all right, I've got to like be creative, or I've got to like tick a few boxes today. So I've got chores, jobs.
Yeah.
Around the house, that makes me feel good. I'm like, if it's not that, I'll go to the gym.
Yeah.
You know?
And so you've
it's
got
sort
your
of
system.
process of elimination.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, I'm like, oh, I'm sweet.
Yeah.
So it's just like that, finding those fine tuning those sort of those things that put you in a good headspace.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I learned is like sort of going through your darkest times, you learn the most about yourself.
Definitely. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself during those dark times?
I definitely learned that I think I'm just too critical of my best efforts, you know, and I learned that sometimes you can only do what you can only do, you know, and that's something my dad always says, but I really learned that in the darkest times, which was like, sometimes you got 5%, and if you give 5% when you got that's 100% for that day, and you got to be nice to yourself. Like, definitely learned that being kind to yourself is super underrated, because I was always like, work harder, like you got to do this, like no excuses, like sort of having that all or nothing mindset. But like going, like really bottoming out made me realize that you can't always just expect like perfection, you know, and if you do, you quickly start to self-loathe, because you're like, oh, well, yesterday was better. It's like, well, you can't always be the best every day.
Where do you think that stem from? Do you reckon it's something from your childhood? Because I definitely feel the same, whereas my mum would always just she would always say to me, can you just be kind to yourself?
Yeah.
You always hug me and just be kind to yourself, because I'm always like, if I've done something good the next day, the day after that, I want to be doing better than that. And I was just like,
I really think it's like a type 1 personality type thing, which is like, I feel like we're both that, which is like, you know, how can I do everything all at once the best way possible? And then you just like, all right, like, you know, it'd be like you with podcasts, me with the food challenges. All right, I really love this now. Now I want to be the best. Or like, and you know, I don't do things by half measures. So it's like, nah, I've got to do 3 videos a week, and I got to do this. And if I don't do it, I'm a failure. And it's just like always thinking you need to do more. But I guess that's, like you said, the other lesson, other than being kind to myself, was learning that like quality over quantity. Like, just because I feel busy doesn't necessarily mean I'm being more productive, you know?
100%. Yeah, and I think for me, it probably goes back to probably not feeling worthy enough. I think I was always wanting to be liked by people, and even growing up, I always wanted people to like me, have attention. I was always seeking that sort of external validation, and I always thought like, you know, I always felt like I wasn't worthy enough.
Yeah.
And I think that's when that chasing thing comes along. Whereas Jordan will be listening to this, and she'll be laughing, because she's always like, "What? You're always taking things to the absolute extreme." If someone tells me, Elliot, you got to do 3 ice baths a day for 10 minutes because that's the ultimate like health thing, I'd be in there for 10 minutes. Like,
you'd be nailing it.
I'll be nailing it. And she's like, "Why do you always got to take it to the extreme?" Like, if I find a bit of information about podcasting, about algorithms, I am taking it to the absolute extreme.
Yeah. All or nothing.
It's all or nothing.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it's almost a compensating of me sort of feeling worthy enough, and it's Jordan's always reminding me, and I'm always checking myself too, and just been like what you said before, if you've got 5% for the day and you give all that 5%, that's 100%
for the day. For sure,
day.
It is definitely
exactly like that. And I think my perspective really changed when I realized that, you know, being happy all the time, you know, being calm and happy all the time is a sign of being mentally and emotionally healthy.
Yes.
You know, and what I experience is that, you know, it's good to experience all range of emotions.
Yep.
Good and bad. I think the key is not to get stuck on either one of them.
Yep.
You know, tough days are all part of the journey.
Yeah.
You know, you know, you need the tough days. And I always thought like, I honestly thought true happiness was not having any problems.
Yep.
So how like immature is that to think you can go through life and not have any problems? So obviously when problems arose, I was always like, there's always friction there because I'm like, why can't I just be happy?
Yeah.
Happy people have no problems.
Yeah.
And it's just like I learned like happy people have problems.
Yeah.
But the reason they're happy because they know how to overcome those problems and not look at it as sort of problems. They look at it as opportunities to get better. And that's how I sort of view it now. My perspective of life is when there's an issue up, when there's a challenge, when there's a problem, I'm always looking at it, all right, this is going to make me better if I choose it to look at it like that.
For sure.
How has your perspective changed? Going through those dark times of your life, and even now, you're pretty open about sort of your highs and lows, up
for
and
sure,
downs.
definitely.
How's your perspective on life changed?
I like read this thing and it was just like, like your life changes when you just ask the universe, like, what's this teaching me instead of like, why is this happening to me? And I think it's really like my perspective's really shifted in the point, like, particularly with like some challenging circumstances, I just sort of like my perspective of like exactly what you just said, like, what is this teaching me? This is an opportunity to learn something here, opposed to before I'd be like, no, I hate this guy, or I hate traffic, or I hate, like, and just really get in a rut or get really frustrated. Whereas now I sort of look at something like why am I so like, we're in traffic, it's the Gold Coast. Like, of course, why is this such a big deal? What am I actually upset about? Probably made me a lot more introspective of like, what's actually the matter. Cause before I think I would just be like, I'm in a bad mood, everything sucks. Whereas now I'd be like, okay, well, I'm in a bad mood, but why? So.
And it's like, Tony Robbins talks about it is like, we don't experience life, we experience life that we perceive.
Yes.
So how we view life, and it's just like, you can always see issues, but you can always see opportunities to get better. And even like sitting in traffic is like a good one. If someone cuts you off, it's so easy to react. But you can always say, "Oh, he must be late for something."
Yeah.
He must be late. Let him in. He must be late.
He
must be real late.
Yeah.
Or like if you're sitting in traffic and I'm going back to the sunny coast and I'm, there's so much traffic sitting there. I'm sitting. It takes me an hour to get back. I'm like, oh, I should probably listen to a podcast. And then every time I do that and listen to a podcast or distract myself with something, I'm like, oh, that's I found something so valuable in that moment.
Yep.
That whereas you could so easily like get frustrated.
Oh yeah. You know, you could easily sit there with no audio on, just seething the whole time, like just mad at the world. Like.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd love to know what do you do to keep yourself in a good headspace? I know that physical activity is so important to you. What helps you sort of reset when you do feel overwhelmed?
Conversation. I just
really?
I love talking. Like when I'm really feeling stressed, and I'm very, very blessed. I know I've probably said that like 6 times, but I can't even expand on how lucky I am to have the friends and people I do that I can be brutally honest, like if I'm feeling god awful. But when I'm feeling really, really overwhelmed, like I just find I'm a big talker. Like I just, whether it be with my dad or my best friend or someone or my brother, I just talk it out. And I find that like I can physically feel lighter if I just like a bit of a verbal vomit of everything that I'm feeling. And then I sort of just feel like, cause like like you said with your checklist, like the exercise is a big one for me. But if I train and I still feel awful, like sunshine, swim in the ocean, if I still feel terrible, it's just like almost that like, friend therapy sort of thing, just getting it out, having a chat, or maybe just sometimes I'll it'll be the guys of checking in on someone, how are you doing? And I'll be like, see how they're doing, and I'll be like, oh, how you doing? I'll be like, oh, actually, and just, I guess, connection, like connecting with people that care.
I love that. Have you always had that relationship with your friends and family where it's been quite, open dialogue in terms of some deep, heavy things?
Friends for sure. Friends definitely. Like they just, I guess that's how we become friends, is because like I have no filter. But family, like in these recent years, and I think that's only because I started putting myself in uncomfortable situations with them to be like, look, this is how I feel. I know it sucks for you to hear this, but this is like my actual feelings. And then initially it was met with like, whoa, like that's very heavy and almost, not confrontation, but, to tell your parents that, you're suicidal and stuff. Like initially I was met with like a bit of like, oh, we've failed as parents.
Which is the natural sort of
response.
Of
course. It's a caring thing, I think.
Absolutely.
But now sort of, I think it's opened up like that thing with my parents where they know that I see them as human, and if they're having their own battles or issues, they know that they can talk to me as well, like human to human. So I think with the family side of things, it's only come from being more vulnerable, because like you said, like it's something that we've sort of grown into, and they never had that education. You know,
That's beautiful that we're doing that to our parents.
for sure.
Now,
Oh,
because
most definitely.
It almost vice versa, because if we're allowing ourselves to talk to them about it, I've noticed that my mum and dad are telling me things
Yes,
that
yes.
they probably wouldn't have told us.
Yep.
Otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing, and I guess asking for help is something that I guess we all struggle with, especially men. You know, I definitely struggled with putting my hand up initially and sort of seeking help. Did you go down that path of sort of professional help, or
yeah,
you did?
definitely. And you know, this is I actually got a message yesterday. Actually, one of my friends was like, "Hey, man, like, just need some advice. You always seem so happy all the time." And I was like, "Look, honestly, like all of the things we spoke about." But I said, you know, like, it sounds like it's you know, a bit airy fairy, like the stereotype. I mean, there's nothing wrong with therapy at all, but like therapy is worth its weight in gold. Like to have an unbiased stranger that's got techniques that you might not know is therapy was a thing for me where I was like, you know, having someone describe myself the way that they interpreted me and not the way I saw myself. You know, he was like, you know, you're a very people pleasing person and this sort of stuff. And when I started thinking about it, I was like, wow, like you're absolutely right. Because he even said, like, what would you do if you didn't? What would you do for you if you weren't doing it for other people? And I was like, I actually don't really know,
Fucking
honestly.
nothing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I wouldn't be doing anything I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like the professional route is really, like I don't think people put enough value on it, you know, because I think there's a stigma or like, oh, you know, it's not for me, or which is so fair. Sometimes it's not, but for me, I spoke to a few different people and never really gelled, and then I eventually found a guy I did really gel with, and it was honestly life changing for me to be in a position where, like we said before, I was seeing myself through an unbiased stranger's eyes and not how I thought the world was looking at me. You know?
Yeah, and it's, you said the key there that what you said is that I think a lot of people will go to a therapist, psychologist, whatever it may be, and then maybe not gel and just think, oh, this isn't for me.
Oh yeah, it's just therapy in general. Yeah,
Therapy in general.
Yeah.
But I think that's the key is like keep searching.
Yep.
Find someone else, because you will find someone that you gel with. And like you said, that I found that was such an important part of my process, was having someone that that doesn't care about me, that isn't like a parent
For
or
sure.
a friend.
Yeah, unbiased.
Unbiased,
like,
that can see through my filtered bullshit,
Yep.
that I think how I think I am or how I think the world's looking at me,
Yep.
and then call you out on it. But also the therapists have this unbelievable skill and gift to almost say what you're thinking about yourself and then make you say it out loud, and then it makes you catch yourself out
Yep.
on how silly or ridiculous that is.
Yeah,
And then
for
you
sure.
go, oh yeah, that fucking,
For sure.
that doesn't make any sense at all.
For sure.
know?
100%. 100%. It's crazy when you verbalize some of the things you're thinking. And I feel like a crazy person sometimes, but I'll have these thoughts and I'll say them out loud, and I hear them out loud and go, doesn't even make sense. But just, you know, they rattle around in your head so much that you start believing it. And once you get it out, like if it can't be with a friend, even with myself, I'm like, well, that is like I'm probably worrying about nothing. You know, like,
a lot of it.
Most of it, yeah.
Most of my stuff is worrying about nothing. And it's funny because I used to worry about the past. So I used to dwell on the past and the things that I've done and things that I've said and all this sort of stuff. And now it's like focusing on the present. I've never been so more present in my life. But what you mentioned before a bit is about sort of growing, you know, our platforms or our business, and at the moment it's almost looking to the future so much, because I want to like be ticking
For
things
sure,
off and
for
planning
sure.
things, and
Yeah.
I'm looking so far ahead. I'm like, this is where I want to be, or this is where I want to get to, or this is what I want to do, and it's almost like doing reverse. Instead of worrying about the past, I'm sort of worrying about the future, and I've
Yeah.
got to bring it back to the present even more than I
sure.
should be now.
It's so easy to do that though, and I think that's like, you know, any goal orientated person would experience the same thing, because like you know, you definitely want to keep that goal in sight, but it's so easy to lose track of like,
Yeah.
but I still want to enjoy today. Like I don't want to be so worried about doing X, Y, and Z that I look back and go, yeah, but I never actually enjoyed the process, you know?
Because you'll look back and think, this is the most enjoyable part
For sure.
because what I found was I trained all my life, played footy all my life to play rugby professionally.
Yeah.
At 20 years old, I got a professional contract, and I remember like that season. I remember like getting the jersey and walking to the change rooms and just thinking, "Fuck yeah!" Like how good's this? And then finishing the game and thinking again, "Oh man, like this isn't making me fulfilled."
Yeah.
You know, I was training all my life
Yeah.
to get to this moment. And now I look back on it, the funnest times was when I was struggling as a kid, like working full time, bouncing down to Brizzy to trainings, coming straight back at midnight, sleeping till 4 a.m., get back to labouring again, like doing that repetitively. Yeah. And then once I got to where I wanted to be, I'm just like, holy shit, like this isn't the funnest time. The funnest time was the struggle, was the climb. That was the funnest moment.
It's so hard though, I think, because there's beauty in the struggle once you've made it.
Yes.
Like it's so hard because exactly like you said, like I look back too, like, you know, even when this stuff was starting out, like we're just mucking around doing random stuff. It was so fun because there was no agenda. It was just whatever. Yeah. But like you said, it's so, once you kind of get to the point where you think, oh, I'll be happy there, you look back and go, oh man, that was so good. But I think it's also in your head because you know, like, oh, like with your footy, like you've made it. I've done what I wanted to do. Where at the time, you're like, oh, I might make it, might not make it. It's so hard to. Yeah. It's so. I think that's the thing I'm working on this year is to enjoy the process, regardless of if I know what's coming next.
Yeah. And what I really love about, I've said it before, is your platform and what you're doing is, you know, you're spreading, you know, mental health awareness. You do stuff for charities and those sorts of things, and you're very vocal and open about your struggles. Why was it so important for you to show your audience that?
I think it was just, I was so overwhelmed by the support I received with the food stuff. And, you know, I was like, this is awesome. But at the same time, like, I definitely felt like as much as I love the food, it's fun, it's great. I meet cool people, you know, it's my job now, beautiful. But I was like, it doesn't tick all of my boxes in terms of like my life's purpose. I was like, I really want to help people. And with entertainment and stuff, beautiful, that's great. But I thought, like, how can I use this platform that I've been so lucky to get to try and, like, you know, to also, like, have a little bit more purpose with my work. And it definitely makes, for myself, it definitely makes me feel better about all the stuff I'm doing because I feel like if I do just all eating and only eating for myself, I just feel like I'm lacking in something, you know? And I think if I was doing, like, only the mental health talks, then people would be like, come on, like eat a bit. So I think it's just finding that nice balance between sharing my experiences, trying to keep things still light because I don't want to be too heavy all the time because I know like a lot of what I talk about is necessary to hear, but I also don't like, I like to keep things as light as possible.
Showing all sides of who you are.
Exactly right. 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, nice. And we spoke about it a little bit before was the ups and downs of social media and you know, my own experience was very toxic and personal experience, but coming on the podcast and doing stuff for the podcast, it's almost, you know, I'm taking it in a new light and thinking about people's criticism and sort of negative comments. This is all part of the journey, and I respect everyone's opinions, and I'll never, unless it's you know really hurtful.
For sure.
I'll always embrace everyone's different opinions on guests, on topics, on podcasts. I never want to silence anyone because everyone's got a different opinion.
For sure.
And that's what I love about people is that we all see the world in a different sort of way. Yeah. Have you ever experienced burnout with social media and how have you maintained to keep a healthy relationship with it? Have you put boundaries in place, like curfews? Like,
yeah, definitely.
How have you navigated that?
So I've sort of got a rule now. It's taken me ages to build up to it, but I've got a rule now where I don't, like, if I can help it, sometimes it's unavoidable, but I just don't read comments. Like I just, you know, and it is, as much as I want to engage with people, and, you know, people that support me and stuff like that. And if I see, like, if I see them, you know, pop up in the box when I open the app, I'll always try and shoot back like a thank you or something like that. But I find that if someone really wants to say something, they'll message me, like positive or otherwise, but mostly positive. And I always try and get back to messages. And then I find I was just burning out too much by, like, it's almost a full-time job responding to comments. You know, if I do 3 or 4 videos a week and then you've got like 50 comments on each one, and then like there's commenting to your comments, and I was sort of like really worried. I was like, man, like I don't want to only half respond, because then the other half I feel like I've like neglected. So I've sort of just got a blanket
Is
where
that people pleasing coming through?
it's
too,
so
isn't it?
hard. Yeah. And like
yeah.
I'm so appreciative of all the support. I
Yeah.
want people to know that I'm super grateful.
And you look at it all, you read it all.
For
you know,
sure.
yeah.
So that's why, every couple of months or however, like whenever I'm feeling it, I'll make a little video and just go like, appreciate the love. A lot of people come up to me in person and get photos and say, hey, and that's so cool. I love it. I want people.
It's wild, isn't it, when you think about it? Like,
and I want people to do that. So every now, like I even made a video saying like, if you see me in public, say hello. I'm not one of these people that's like, go away. Like I want you to say hello, because it's nice. Like it's always positive things. But yes, I'll do a little video basically like, thank you so much for all the support. If you need me, message me. Like I never ignore, but that's basically also giving myself a bit of like, all right, well, no one's expecting you to respond to the comments, but I was just burning out beforehand. I was like, my shelf life is going to be incredibly small if I spend every day worrying about messaging everyone. Commenting back on a comment. So
yeah. And I think this might be a bit of a tricky one to answer for you, but do you think influencers have a responsibility to show more of their struggles on their channels, or to keep it more entertainment?
I think it really depends on what the influencer themselves wants to promote. Like, I think for myself, the food is a thing that's kind of helped me go a bit more viral and build an audience. But like, I've always wanted to have more of a like behind the scenes type approach with my stuff. Like, this is my diet, this is my mental health, this is my food, this is my life, this is my travel. But I think if they were like a comedian and they just wanted to do skits, and their only content was like, here's a skit, and they're not really talking about themselves at all, I think that's totally fair to keep it like a movie. Like if they don't break character on social media.
Yeah, like the Reese Bros or
mate, it's so cool, for sure.
Spine Unemployed.
100%. If those lads don't ever want to do like a behind the scenes sort of thing, like it's like a TV show. Like I wouldn't expect a TV show to suddenly break character and go, actually, but if they did, it would also be great. I think it just depends what they want. You know?
100%. And going back to sort of, you just said then how you like to show, your life away from it.
Yeah.
How hard has that been for you to show your authentic self on social media? Did it come easy?
No, it took a while, because I would just feel so silly. Like, I really struggle with, we spoke about it before, like really bad imposter syndrome. Like, people don't care. Like, why would they care what I'm doing? Why would they care what I'm eating? But then I'd get loads of messages. Hey, bro, like, what do you how do you train, or what do you eat around this stuff? And I was like, well, exactly what we said before. I'm just making videos that I enjoy. So I'm like, if you like it, you like it. If you don't have to watch it. But then I sort of just found like making the videos for me, and it was sort of answering a lot of questions I was getting asked, but it was also fun. So the more, and I know we said this before, the more fun I have with it, the better I think it comes across. When I try and go too much to an agenda, I look back at it and go, I don't like that. Yeah.
Something that my fiance said when I told her you were coming on the podcast, she goes, do you know Jimmy Judge? And she was like, no, I don't really know who that is. And I showed her a video of yours.
Oh, yeah.
And she goes, oh, I know him.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, I didn't think you liked food challenges. And she goes, I don't, but he seems like a really good person. And that really struck me, because it made me think that it really doesn't matter what your content is that you're creating. It doesn't matter what you're providing or what entertainment it is. I think what it comes down to is who you are as a person.
Yep. Yeah.
And like you said, people tune in for the food challenges, but they stay because of you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah,
and I think that is the reason why I was so drawn to your content too, is I don't know if anyone says this to you, but it's how you interact with people when they bring you food.
Yeah.
It's the 5 seconds when someone brings you food and you're so grateful and thankful, and then when at the end where they come back and say good work, and you're those 5 seconds, that how you interact with people. I think that's the key thing that people need to understand with social media and growing an audience. Is it's not about sort of the food challenges. Yeah, they're great, but it's about your authenticity. Can't say that word.
I know what you mean, though.
Be authentic.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Hey, I really do. It's awesome, and I still pinch myself, but it's so lovely to just not have to act a certain way. Like just it's so awesome to, you know, and then the best compliments I ever get is people like, you just like in the videos. And I was like, man, that's the stuff that like, you know, more so than all the other stuff, that's the stuff that really means the most to me, which is I guess exactly, like, you know, what we're both doing is life does get really heavy and hard. It's so nice that we can be in a position where we kind of, I don't know if we ease the burden, but we at least share a bit of ourselves with people that might want to hear it. And it might just be that, you know, it just might be that one person that needs to hear it on a bad day. And I think that's the thing that really makes me go like, well, I'm super blessed to be in this position. You know?
Have you had a pinch yourself moment? I mean, you do it full time now, but has it been a pinch yourself moment when you've just gone, I had no idea my life was gonna turn out like
this? I was I actually got I had a collaboration. So Dr. Pickles, the tattoo aftercare company, actually gave me a paid gig to come to the festival. So they paid me to attend the festival and tattooed me for, like, you know, so like they paid for the ticket, paid for the tattoo, and then paid me to appear. And I was like, this doesn't happen. And then the overwhelming support of people coming up and being like, you know, because I was sort of like, man, I'm here for the ride. I'll come along, but I don't know what the reception will be like in terms of, like, you know, because like it's hard to gauge with crowds. Like, you know, it's like maybe people will think it's cool, maybe people won't care. But the amount of people that came up and were like, man, like getting photos and saying hello and just being supportive in general, it was really like, wow, like incredible to feel so much love from just basically like just like goofing around initially. Like, you know, it's getting a little bit more serious with the mental health stuff, but like with the food stuff, like I'm just eating food, like just chilling.
People honestly love it. They cheer you on almost, and like
it's so fun. Like,
you know, and I experienced something for the very first time. I went to a 660 concert in Riverstage a couple of weeks ago, and we were just leaving, and this guy was looking at me, and I don't drink anymore. To be honest with you, I don't really like going into crowds with drunk people.
So fair, yeah.
So I was there, and I was sort of at the back, and I was sort of going to sneak out once it finished, and then there was a couple of drunk guys, and this guy was staring at me. I'm like, oh fuck, here we go.
Yeah.
What's going to happen here? And he comes up to me and gives me a handshake, and he goes, bro, love the podcast.
Mad. Wow.
It is the best.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
And he was sort of like a bit high and stuff, and he was like, love what you're doing. And I was like, holy shit. Like, this has gone from a little, you know, hobby that I did on my pastime just to affecting someone that I don't even know.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Positively. Amazing.
And I'm like, I didn't express it because I was so in shock. I was just, oh, fuck, I had no idea that was going to happen. But how much that meant to me, I think.
Oh, for sure.
I guess you would feel the same thing.
Oh, and you know, and I try and stress it, like, because I'll often get people come up and they're like so apologetic. Oh, I'm really sorry, but I'm like, look, like I just need you to understand, like one, I love people saying hello. Like I get it from my dad. I could just talk all day. Look, but you know, the other thing too is, and I say this to people in person, like you coming up is telling me that what I'm doing is working, and with your support, I can do this. If you guys didn't care, like, not that I'm trying to please everyone, but like the people that do support me, like with your support, I have a platform, but without your support, I don't have a platform. So I actually like it means so much to me, and I would never ever be one of these people that goes out in public and gets bothered when someone says hello, because if I want to be left alone, I won't go out in public. You know,
well, I won't do what I'm doing.
Or I'll get off social media. Yeah, exactly. For sure. Yeah.
What's the relationship with yourself now?
Really, really, like I think I'm very, very introspective, but it's so much more positive now that I've sort of got rid of all my self-limiting beliefs. Like once I started realizing that a lot of the situations and environments that maybe weren't so positive that I found myself in were all because I had this like self-limiting belief that I could only, you know, I couldn't do that. Like I can't do that. Someone else could do that. I couldn't do this. And once I realized, like, why can't I do that? You know, as corny as it is, like once I sort of realized that you can really kind of do almost anything, if not anything that you set your mind to, it's really made me appreciate myself and I guess like what we said before is learn how to be kind to myself, because it's taken me like the better part of 30 years to actually be cool with myself and not just always so damn hard.
Your own best friend.
For 100%, 100%.
So we've got some quick fire questions to
Yeah,
finish
sweet
off. So you can answer them as quickly or as long as you want. One food to eat for the rest of your life.
Oh,
What is it?
burgers for
Burgers?
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Just be yourself. The people that get it, and the people that won't. But then you never have to think about it because you're just being yourself. You know?
Love that. How have you defined success?
By I would say just by being able to being able to wake up and do what I would like to do. You know, for sure.
Freedom.
Freedom for sure. 100%.
Who's your hero?
Steve Irwin.
Really?
Yeah. See, nicest dude ever.
He's the man, isn't he?
100%.
Oh.
And just like in terms of an Australian guy that like could have been like towards the end there, could have really had a big ego about him, and he was just Steve. Like he just seemed like what you see is what you get.
Down to the earth.
For sure.
So the UFC fighter I had on the podcast, he worked with Steve Irwin
You're kidding.
before he was a UFC fighter.
What?
And the stories he told, man, like go back and you can listen to the podcast.
I definitely will.
He got a job catching crocs with him, working at the zoo, and then Steve wanted to have an MMA fight.
You're kidding.
So the guy was on the podcast. He was training Steve to have.
No one would want to punch Steve. Surely.
He had a fight lined up with Vin Diesel.
Wow.
Before celebrity fights were a thing, and apparently all Steve's management was like, "It'll end your career. You'll ruin everything, your reputation." And apparently they had Steve built an octagon at the zoo and was training out of there.
That's blown my mind, bro.
The guy was like, he goes, Steve was paying for him to go to America, to go to camps, and Steve would like get private jets for him.
I love that. That's incredible.
Loved it. Like what he said was Steve loved people with passion.
Yeah.
You know,
I've heard that.
So if he had people that loved the crocodiles,
Yeah.
he had people that loved the crocodiles.
Yeah.
People that loved the snakes would work with the snakes.
Yeah.
So he would find what you're passionate about
And put you there.
He loved passion.
That's so cool. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to listening to that because that's so cool.
What brings you the most joy and fulfillment?
I think by helping others realize their own potential. I think, you know, that's the thing that really fills my cup when someone says, I did this, you know, or I tried this or did this because of something you said and then I was really good at it. Or, you know, like I think that's the thing where I was like, you know, if I could do one thing, it would be to encourage people to, you know, believe in themselves. So I
Lean
think
into themselves.
For sure.
If you could go back to a time in your life, where would you go and why?
Honestly, like I probably wouldn't. I'm so stoked with where I'm at right now. I think, you know, if anything, it's stuff like this that reminds me to be in the moment. And because I'm sure that in 10, 20 years time, I'll look back at like times like this and go like, I hope you made the most of this. Because this is like, I'm at the point where I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
What are your non-negotiables for living a healthy and full life?
Like make sure I get plenty of sunshine, try and sleep as much as possible because I'm a terrible sleeper. So from shift work, I guess but yeah, just I think exercise regularly and just surround myself with people that support me, like support the people that support me. Because I think, you know, if I've got a healthy environment in terms of like the people around me, like if I'm having a bit of a bottom out, they lift me back up for sure.
Love that. What do you wish more people understood about you?
That I'm just a human and I can't eat 10 kilos of the. Nah, a lot of people, I think, like, I guess with this platform, it's good that people get to know who I really am. But I think at face value, I think I'd like more people to realize that not even just myself, but people that look like myself is like a lot of us have stories. And just because people might look a certain way, I think it's, you know, it's cliche, but to not judge a book by its cover, because a lot of people meet me like that don't have social media and go, you are so nice. And I'll be like, opposed to? And I'll be like, well, when
actually like a really nice guy.
Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean?
What?
But I'm like, it's because of like, you know, for sure,
Yeah.
you know, and I understand. I do understand. But yeah, I think that's sort of like, it's nice because I feel like I'm breaking a bit of a stigma too with what I'm doing. You know, like obviously you don't want to probably just walk up to every tattooed stranger and go like, how you going? But at the same time, it is really nice to sort of, to slowly but surely feel like we're breaking some some stigmas with that. Like,
and then what you said about before, it's lead with curiosity rather than judgment.
yes,
You know, don't go into it judgmental. Go into it with a bit of curiosity and and just think, oh, what's this guy like?
for sure,
You
for
know?
sure. And people generally show you like their true colors pretty quick. So you know, if you say hello to someone and they tell you to get F, like you probably know, like probably don't push that, like probably don't try and get to know the guy. Like,
Don't try too hard.
yeah.
So for someone that is listening right now that are having a string of really bad days and struggling with their mental health, what advice would you give them?
Sort of treat yourself like you would treat your best friend. And you know, if you would tell your best friend to reach out, then you should reach out, or you know, or even if you know it's just like a transient thing that will pass. Basically just that, like keep like I guess what we've said this whole thing, which is make sure that you are kind to yourself and treat yourself like you're someone, like you would treat someone that you love. Because I think a lot of the time we get in these ruts and we just expect more from ourselves than we would someone else experiencing the same thing.
Like you said, if your best friend was coming to you and saying this stuff, what would you tell them?
For sure,
Say
yeah.
that same thing to yourself.
Yeah, you wouldn't tell them to harden up, but yeah, we tell ourselves to. Like, it's hard. Like,
100%. And last one for you. If you could have a conversation with your 10-year-old self and your 80-year-old future self, what would you say to each of them?
It's so difficult. I think with the 10-year-old for sure, it would be just believe in yourself. Like, I know we keep coming back to this thing, but it's really like doors open when you do what you're about. I think when you're yourself, like the opportunity presents itself. When you just keep looking, something will happen. And with the 80-year-old self, I'll be like, wow, the food challenges didn't kill us.
What have you done?
What happened?
We're still here. Jimmy, mate, thank you so much for coming on, for your honesty, your vulnerability, and sharing your story in a way that people can relate to. It's been amazing to get you to know you on a more personal level, mate. It's been incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. But I appreciate what you're doing here. I think this is having a platform like this is a really good thing you're doing, bro. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much. I do have a closing tradition.
Yeah.
I don't ask the last question. So
Okay.
I get friends and family. They send in questions for the guests.
Oh, sick. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, hell yeah.
So we've got a couple of mates that have sent in questions for you. Here we go. Who do we want first? I hope I say his name right. Amrit?
Oh, yeah.
It says a funny one. He goes, who is the person who has spewed the most training legs with you?
Oh, that'd have to be Amrit or probably Grasso actually.
Grasso.
So one of the other boys, but yeah, no, it'd probably be Amrit. Yeah, love you, Amrit.
Shout out, Amrit. You got another one for you. Have you ever been thrown into a brick wall after corking a 6'6" man's leg? What are these stories?
We used to have a good like back in the days when I think before things got as woke, we used to all work together in restaurants and stuff. And yeah, one of the boys that we were working with was a giant, and I was trying to play a practical joke on him and ended up getting splattered in a wall. But we had a good time. I look back very, very fondly. In fact, actually, like going off topic, but one of the first ever eating challenge I did was at that restaurant with Amrit and that.
Oh, really?
Because the assistant manager told me that he could eat more than me, and I was 17. And I was like, you can't. And we went and bought 50 cheeseburgers from McDonald's after shift to see who could eat more. I think I ate like 10 at the time. I was dying, but he ate 8. And the reward was he got to go jump in the cold room. Oh, sorry, the freezer for like 5 minutes or something. It was something silly. It was something silly, but yeah,
sick.
wow.
Last one, James King.
Yes, yeah.
So he's actually sent you a voice message. Let's see if you can hear it.
Jimmy, my brother and best mate, you've been by my side through some of my best times and some of the most difficult times in my life. Everything from Christmases, your godson's christenings, benders, and grueling workouts, all the way through to you standing beside me when I found out about my sister's passing. My question to you is, through all the highs and lows we've faced together, what has helped you stay mentally strong?
Friends like friends like that, honestly, like that's 100%. Like, got me in my feelings then. Like Amrit, like Kingy, like so his kids are my god kids, and And I think that's why, like we always stress about being a good friend to yourself, but like the importance of being a good friend to your friends as well. Like I don't think I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the people that I have in my life that love me and stuff like that. So I think, the thing that gets me through the tough times is knowing that I've got friends that have become family, that support me regardless.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Having that close circle around you. To anyone listening, if this conversation resonated with you, if you're struggling, or if you just needed to hear this, just know that you're not alone. Thanks, Jimmy, for coming on.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Cheers, bro.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Mind Your Head. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really supports the show and helps others discover us. Don't forget to join us on Instagram and TikTok at mindyourhead.podcast.